Plop, plop. A heart was pumping. The pumping was so violent that the sound of that heartbeat was enough to wake the dead. Ah! A howl arose that would rend almost any heart. Divine energy surged out from him. Behind him appeared the dark field of darkness in which many fiends and demons could be seen. There was a faint and yet majestic figure inside as well. That hysterical and wild call resounded through the sky. The otherworld heavenly king was stunned speechless. How come its space confinement failed? No way. This human being is merely at the 7th rank. No matter how outstanding he is, he could not have broken out from the space confinement. Also, what are those things in this human's force field? The heavenly king was able to tell that those figures and images were terrifying. There had to be some existence that it could hardly picture. I am going to kill you. Sui Ping glared at the heavenly king with wild eyes. His divine energy was burning up. The frozen space around him began to thaw. Sui Ping could feel a stream of turbulent energy gushing out from him. His strength and momentum were rising rapidly. Break! Boom! Sui Ping moved his arms, he exerted his full strength. With a muffled sound, the confinement was gone. In the meantime, a familiar consciousness appeared in Sui Ping's mind, which startled him. The killing intent on his face became even more evident. You're awake. Perfect timing. Come and join me for the last battle of my life. Sui Ping bellowed. That consciousness understood Sui Ping's intention from the bond of their contract and happily obliged. Come on. From behind Sui Ping, a swirl appeared and a figure stepped out. It was the little skeleton that had just woken up from the blood cocoon. Every piece of the little skeleton's bones was spotlessly white. The biggest change of the little skeleton was the color of its bones, which was originally black. 2 balls of crimson fire were burning in its eye sockets. The heavenly king was surprised to see the little skeleton. Instead of mocking the battle pet, the heavenly king was trembling. Something was terrifying about the skeleton. It seemed that the skeleton was a creature above the fate state. I have to finish it. The heavenly king came back to its senses. The little skeleton had to be destroyed. Space was closing in on Sui Ping again. Roar! Sui Ping howled. He punched at the heavenly king with all of his strength. However, as soon as he threw that punch, something invisible had stopped him. It was the force contained in space. Sui Ping punched out wildly, but he just could not break that invisible wall. He did not have enough strength. Stupid! The otherworld heavenly king snorted. Right then, the little skeleton suddenly shifted into a beam of white light that pierced into Sui Ping. Sui Ping felt something entering him. Following that, a chilly feeling had spread all across his body. The next second, he felt something was going to burst out of him. At the same time, he felt there was an endless pool of strength he could tap into. With pain and anger, Sui Ping punched again. Boom! The invisible hindrance in space cracked open. A virtual image of the fist of exorcist smashed onto the face of the heavenly king. The heavenly king was forced back for a dozen meters. There was a wound on that charming face and blood was oozing out from its mouth as well. Still, that was not the time to tend to the pain. The heavenly king eyed Sui Ping in disbelief. What happened just now? How could a 7th-rank human crack that space barrier? How could he merge with his pet? Sui Ping looked quite terrifying right then. Outside his skin were white bones, but different from a skeleton, skin and flesh were still underneath those bones. His eyes were still his human eyes, but his eyebrows and nose were replaced with bones. He had merged with his pet. That was a skill that could only be mastered by creatures at the legendary rank and above. But Sui Ping was only at the 7th rank. That was certain. Soon, the heavenly king thought of a reason. It must be because of the skeleton. This was the skeleton's skill. What confused the heavenly king was the pet's skill. How could it be so intimidating? In the meantime, Sui Ping was also in a daze after he had injured the otherworld heavenly king with this punch. Did I do it? From the astonishment on the Heavenly King's face, Sua Ping was able to tell that indeed, he had been the reason. Also, Sua Ping had sensed the change in himself and soon came back to his senses. The little skeleton had merged with him. Was this a new skill the little skeleton had learned? As he stared at the Heavenly King, Sua Ping no longer had to contain his killing intent. Charge! Something flipped in his mind. With one step, he had reached the Heavenly King. That should be a skill mastered by creatures of the void state, and Sua Ping had used it as if it had come naturally to him. He was just thinking about how to move faster and then he did it. The Heavenly King was stunned yet again. This was unexpected. However, Sua Ping's usage of the skill was not proficient, which had given time for the Heavenly King to react. Whoosh! The Heavenly King appeared behind Sua Ping. Such being the case, this human being cannot be left alive. He must go. Many air blades were manifested. Die! The Heavenly King generated a sword out of thin air, aiming to cut Sua Ping's back. Right then, Sua Ping turned around and threw a punch. Sua Ping wasn't any less experienced than the Heavenly King when it came to battles. The Heavenly King had lived a long time, but it didn't have the need to spend most of its time fighting. It cultivated most of the time. But Sua Ping was different. When he was in the store, 90% of the time he would head to a cultivation site, battling with his life on the line. The Heavenly King was surprised to see him react so quickly. It felt as if Sua Ping had calculated when and where it would strike. Although surprised, the Heavenly King didn't stop. It could not stop. Finish him! Boom! The bone-covered fist was as hard as steel. The void sword in the hand of the Heavenly King was completely cracked. The fist pushed on and landed on the Heavenly King's palm. Bones cracked. Stunned by this outcome, the Heavenly King dashed away. There was a hole in its palm. A blade was retracting, back into the white bones covering Sua Ping's knuckles. The Heavenly King was unable to figure this out, that was not the usual merging that it knew of. The usual merging would make one consciousness was the lead and the other one would lie dormant. However, there and then, it was evident that the two consciousnesses were battling together. How could it lose to the human being in strength? How? It was a beast king of the fate state. On the other hand, the human being was just at the 7th rank, not even the titled rank. The Heavenly King believed that even a single sneeze would have killed many. But this human had injured it. Go to hell! Sua Ping shouted again. The wrath rose higher as Sua Ping remembered the Inferno Dragon. Bang! 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 He punched out continuously. With the help of that surge of power, Sua Ping seemed to have deciphered the principles of the Fist of Exorcist's 2nd level. His punch was even more powerful. The Heavenly King hurriedly called forth a space confinement again but failed. Courting death. The Heavenly King was forced back several times and distress appeared on its face. Suddenly, a mist of blood burst out from the Heavenly King. That mist was able to isolate all senses. Inside that area, the blood mist would seep into the target's body, turning the target into a puddle of blood before the victim was able to tell. Force field. Sua Ping's eyes glowed. His force field suddenly began to tumble around. The virtual figures inside the force field suddenly turned to face the Heavenly King at the same time. A fierce figure crawled out from the force field, then grabbed Sua Ping and wrapped him up. That massive figure was smaller after it crawled out from the force field. The thing wrapped around Sua Ping was a dark mist. Sua Ping felt that his strength had increased yet again. Go to hell, he shouted and punched again. He was getting close to the 2nd level of the Fist of Exorcist. The virtual figure of the fist was large, it seemed to carry a beast's roar. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Heavenly King's hair was extended toward the virtual fist. However, in the next second, the blade-like hair was all destroyed. The fist landed on the Heavenly King. It hurried to strike back but then it started to fall, until it hit the battleground. With a bang, a huge pit was made on the ground. All the wild beasts were scared away, wary of the Heavenly King. On the outer wall, many battle pet warriors including Mu Bahai and Lu Tianzong and the titled battle pet warriors from other base cities were stunned speechless. Did Suiping just smack down the otherworld Heavenly King? Beast Kings had pride. It had lived for a few thousand years while having its way all across the blue planet. Except for a few truly dangerous creatures, nothing else could have harmed it like this. What was more unacceptable was that the human being was a piece of garbage that was merely at the 7th rank. How dare he challenge it just because he had one stunning pet? I'll beat you to death. The ground began to shake. Many sharp stone pillars grew out from under the Heavenly King. Each of the pillars was over a dozen meters tall. That entire area turned into a stone forest. The beasts that didn't have time to run away were impaled, scaring away the rest. Such a massive strike had astonished the people standing on the outer wall. It would have been a grave disaster if that strike had been aimed at the outer wall. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As the Heavenly King gave more orders, the stone pillars were discharged at Suiping like many arrows that carried the force of lightning. Suiping didn't get away. While carrying the dark force field, Suiping dived towards the Heavenly King. The fiends and demons were dancing around, running rampant in the force field. Another fierce figure crawled out from the force field. It grabbed Suiping's shoulders and pulled itself out from the force field. Once that being got out from the force field, it shrank down in size and turned into a dark mist that wrapped itself around Suiping. Suiping's momentum grew again. Boom! He yelled and punched out. He punched and punched again with the fist of Exorcist, which had the power to shatter the world. The stone pillars were broken into pieces. At the moment, Suiping was like a devil incarnate, with white bones as his body and with tremendous strength. No! The Heavenly King was astounded. It wasn't surprised because of Suiping's skill, but the fact that this human had not only built a force field but also reached the first level of the force field while being at the 7th rank, which allowed him to borrow the strength of the things inside the force field. Not even a creature at the Fate state could have done that. Bang! 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 All the stone pillars headed toward Suiping were blasted into pieces. Suiping was like a falling meteorite. He shouted and punched to defeat the Heavenly King. A golden virtual fist was manifested. The dust on the ground was unsettled even before the virtual fist reached the ground. The great impact carried by the virtual fist made the ground around the Heavenly King sink. Do you think I'm afraid of you? The Heavenly King was furious. Its figure changed from that of a delicate woman into that of a twisted, red flower. The otherworld Heavenly King was a flower that had grown in the underworld. It had evolved after absorbing a vast amount of devil energy. Its legs turned into roots that penetrated the ground and the upper body turned into a crimson flower. The pistil opened up into a mouth from which a sword was extended. That was an ancient sword that was several meters wide and more than 10 meters long. The sword was covered in blood-red lines. Bzzz. The sword was making a noise. While carrying the force of the Heavenly King, the sword hacked at Suiping. The golden fist and the sword bumped into each other. The clash produced a noise as loud as the detonation of a nuclear bomb. Everyone across the battlefield was able to hear that noise. The sword was thrown back to the Heavenly King, but it made a full turn and went after Suiping again. Lightning bolts wrapped themselves around Suiping. With a dash, he approached the ominous beast. He was aiming for close-quarter combat to tear the Heavenly King apart. The Heavenly King saw through Suiping's plan. It cried out and once again used space confinement to secure a place. Since the Heavenly King had shown its true form, the space confinement was more than 10 times stronger than before. Suiping stopped for 1 second, but soon threw himself forward again. He broke free from the confinement. The white bones covering him had endowed him with endless strength. Finish it! Suiping didn't teleport across space this time. Even though he could escape from the space confinement, the blockade made it impossible for him to go through the void again. Even so, Suiping was determined to finish the Heavenly King. He wasn't used to teleporting, to begin with. He moved as fast as a lightning flash in that confined space with the help of lightning bolts. He was running. While space confinement was in effect, even the dust and mist in the air had been stopped. The stones that were stirred up from the ground were staying still in the air. Everything was frozen on the spot. That was a strange thing. Those standing on the distant outer wall were confused as to what skill it was. "You shall die," the Heavenly King bellowed. Blood mist emerged from the massive sword, and the Heavenly King breathed out some blood mist that was also enveloping Suaping. The blood mist contained venom that even a beast king of the void state would be instantly poisoned to death, the body would corrode and the soul would perish. Boom! Suaping exhibited tremendous strength and directly went through the blood mist. That sword moved again, Suaping pushed it away. The sword merely left a slight mark on the white bones. Suaping had reached the Heavenly King in an instant. He punched the Heavenly King's mouth and the golden, virtual fist broke through many of the sharp fangs. Then, Suaping grabbed its mouth, shouting, "Ah! PFF!" The Heavenly King's mouth was torn apart, blood-drenched Suaping. The white bones around him were tainted red. "Woo!" The otherworld Heavenly King screamed in misery. Many red vines grew out from the ground and tried to smash at Suaping, as an attempt to push him away. Apart from anger and surprise, the Heavenly King was feeling terror. What is this human being? How was he able to survive the strike from a sword that could even cut steel and even a creature at the fate state? How come the sword failed to harm Suaping? How sturdy must those white bones be? To the Heavenly King's dismay, there was nothing it could do. But this human was merely at the 7th rank. The red vines that once had entangled Suaping and dragged him into trouble had been completely shattered by Suaping. Suaping tore the mouth with more force. He was going to tear apart the entire otherworld Heavenly King. The otherworld Heavenly King roared due to the pain and Suaping's killing intent. Its receptacle grew in size, then it let out an ear-splitting cry. The cry was one that could only be heard in the underworld, one that could take away a person's soul. The wild beasts that were running wild on the battleground were stunned by that cry. Some wild beasts, after they came back to their senses, crouched and shivered in fear. Some wild beasts that were closer to the Heavenly King were scared into incontinence. The battle pet warriors standing on the outer wall weren't any better. They were weak in the knees and their faces were devoid of color. They felt they had seen unimaginable horrors. Even their spirits were affected, no morale was left. Just fear. Those who were less bold were scared to death on the spot. That was the power of the otherworld Heavenly King. And yet, Suaping, the major target of the Heavenly King of Otherworld, was not affected at all. The rage in Suaping's eyes became even more prominent. He turned a deaf ear to that cry. Apart from deterrence, the cry could cause physical damage, but the white bones over Suaping had protected him against that harm. PFF. Suaping continued to yank open the mouth with grossly offensive features, revealing the tongues and throat hiding behind the fangs. He lifted his foot and stomped the throat. Bang! The Heavenly King trembled. Suaping stomped on the pistol with so much force that even the ground cracked. This cannot be. The otherworld Heavenly King could not believe that the young man could ignore its killing intent. What is he? A machine? It was terrified by Suaping's strength, and wondered for a moment if it should escape. The very thought made it even angrier. How could a beast king be afraid of a human at the 7th rank? Intolerable. Bang! The ground cracked. The Heavenly King used more blood mist to manipulate the sword to fight against Suaping. It wielded the sword like a human being, thanks to a strange skill learned in a secret land. The sword carried a force that could leave a black mark in the air. The space near the slashed area became broken and chaotic. Even a beast king at the void state could be hurt by this chaotic air after coming close to that space. A beast king of the ocean state would have died in an instant. Still Suaping was unaffected in that chaos. All the air blades charging toward him from all directions would bounce off, thanks to the white bones that had formed an invincible armor for him. Bang! 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 Suaping punched out and the fist of Exorcist smashed all the beams of light from the sword. He stepped forward, closer and closer to the Heavenly King. He held no weapon, he directly grabbed the Heavenly King and began to tear it apart with force. "You are doomed! Doomed!" the Otherworld Heavenly King shouted. It had never been so angry before, not even when it had to deal with that thing with two heads. The Heavenly King waved its vines, trying to fend off the strikes. It was stalling, waiting. It had never been good at face-to-face combat, but it definitely could last longer. The more time it had, the more harm the blood mist could do. This attack could even corrode a creature at the peak of the fate state so badly that even such a creature would collapse after the first blow. Clang! Clang! Suaping blasted away the vines with punches and kicks, then dashed toward the flower, ripping many petals. He had never used the fist of Exorcist with such force. He punched with ease thanks to the surging strength inside him, like never before. He had gained a more thorough understanding of the skill. Boom! He threw a punch that even made the air produce a shrill cry. The Heavenly King gave a start, something was hinting a taste of death. How? The mighty Beast King growled and tried hard to fight back, but a hole appeared on its pistol the next second. The gushing blood indicated that it had been severely mauled. It was half dead with fright. "This human is merely at the 7th rank. How could he have hurt me? This human must go." The Otherworld Heavenly King was determined. The most confusing matter was seeing Suaping unaffected. Why hasn't he shown any sign of weakening after staying in the blood mist for so long? If it were another Beast King at the Fate state, its strength would have already decreased several times. A Beast King at the Void state would have been rotten by then. The Heavenly King soon realized that the blood mist was unable to penetrate the incredible white bones. They were immune to the blood mist. The ability the Otherworld Heavenly King prided itself to have was ineffective. What is that skeleton? After the initial stage of shock, the Heavenly King gained a clear idea of the current situation and pushed down its anger. That was not the time to save its strength anymore. While the flower kept Suaping occupied, the Heavenly King tore apart space and vanished on the spot. Whoosh! The Heavenly King reappeared among a group of wild beasts thousands of meters away. The blood mist corroded the startled beasts even before they could crouch in fear, becoming nourishment for the blood mist. It did not stop, teleporting several times to flee without caring about the beasts that died in the process. Those wild beasts were nothing but food, they weren't even the tasty ones. Still, the Heavenly King didn't mind at all. After several rounds of teleportation, the Heavenly King managed to return where the massive lotus was in the battlefield. That lotus was its external form. It dashed over and merged with the lotus at once. Boom! A strand of outstanding energy swept across the battlefield. The actual Heavenly King of Otherworld was back. That overwhelming energy lingered. Both the wild beasts and the battle pet warriors were alerted by that energy. Appalled, they stared at that huge and terrifying figure in the battlefield. Is that the true Otherworld Heavenly King? Suaping felt overwhelmed by the energy, but he didn't back down. That pressure was nothing when compared to the energy of the celestial gods in the demigod burial. So weak. Still, such a weak being had killed the Inferno Dragon. Die! Suaping shouted. He dashed forward, producing a sharp noise because of the fast speed. Without knowing, Suaping had started to teleport and sprint. It was as if he were skipping around in the air. No one could believe what they were seeing. The Heavenly King was growling as well. The beam of crimson light coming out from its single eye carried a force able to break everything. Bang! That beam of light crossed the battlefield and struck Suaping. That force made Suaping feel pain. The pressure made Suaping all the more violent. He shouted as he punched out with all of his might. A magnificent creature was emerging in the force field. Although vague, one could still see that blood-boned figure sitting on an ancient throne. The moment Suaping lifted his fist, that magnificent figure lifted its fist as well. Buzzing, buzzing. Heaven and the earth were shaking. The air was boiling. The impact was too much to handle. Sua Ping's fist and the fist of the magnificent skeleton instantly merged into one. Silence prevailed at that moment. A never-before-seen virtual fist which was larger than usual pushed forward. That beam of crimson light turned into smoke and ashes. That massive fist carried tremendous force, enveloping the enormous Heavenly King. "This cannot be," the Heavenly King shouted. This time, it was terrifying. "What is that thing?" It tried to use space skills right away. In the meantime, the ground was rippling like a carpet as the attack moved toward the target. Boom! The earthen wall cracked. That was the Heavenly King's defensive skill, but it didn't last for even an instant. As the wall collapsed, the many space barriers that the Heavenly King had constructed were blasted into many pieces that danced around in the air. The beast's eye contracted. Once again, it resorted to space skills. Space folding. Boom! Folded space hid the huge Heavenly King. Sua Ping punched again in that second. The folded space broke and the Heavenly King was forced out. The leading Beast King once again appeared in the battlefield. Heavily mauled, the Heavenly King fell to the ground. The ground quaked and even the outer wall could feel the tremor. Sua Ping moved in closer and closer. The great Beast King was deep in a pit. The petals were tattered and blood covered them. That one punch had completely injured the Heavenly King. "Run!" The otherworld Heavenly King felt anger and grief. It glared at Sua Ping, the crazy demon who was moving in closer, and felt its heart racing. This human is a freak. The Heavenly King was wondering if something was wrong about the rank of that human being. Who could explain why a 7th rank could do this? The Heavenly King's body contracted. Then it traveled more than 10,000 meters in an instant. Sua Ping gave chase. No one could believe that. Sua Ping had almost defeated the otherworld Heavenly King. He had gained the upper hand against one of the 4 Heavenly Kings. That was beyond reason and logic. Many battle pet warriors from other base cities cried out in joy after they came back to their senses. Everyone on the outer wall was shouting with joy. They could certainly take care of the wild beasts while the otherworld Heavenly King was away. The Heavenly King was the most frightening of all, the horror for all. Mubahai could not believe this. He didn't join the celebration because what had happened felt too surreal. That was the otherworld Heavenly King. Sua Ping was chasing the Heavenly King. How surreal to see that! "You cannot run!" The Heavenly King was trying to get away but Sua Ping would not allow it. He had not avenged the Inferno Dragon yet. He had to honor his pet with the blood of the Heavenly King. Whoosh! Sua Ping was rushing forward, teleporting across space. He was in pain, as if something were tearing him apart. He felt how the strength inside him was being drained. That strange state could not last long. Sua Ping was losing his mind. Once the strength was gone, whether he liked it or not, he would no longer be able to fight against the Heavenly King. "Stop right there!" Sua Ping roared. The Heavenly King was irritated. Still, it kept on running at the top of its speed. It didn't have to waste time with that freaky human being. Also, it didn't know if there were others like Sua Ping in the Longjiang base city which, after all, was a special place. The Heavenly King of Otherworld ran like hell. It used teleportation, space folding and otherworld illusion, to name some. It used many skills in a row. A creature at the Fate state would be able to teleport across a large distance, reaching over 10,000 meters in one go. Some beasts below the king level can only teleport dozens of meters. Either way, teleportation is a skill that could utterly change the situation and could facilitate assassinations. While the Heavenly King ran, it was creating many troubles for himself, such as swirls that could suck Sua Ping in. Sua Ping broke the swirls with his fist. The illusion that the Heavenly King had constructed was dispersed by Sua Ping's roar. Sua Ping's eyes reddened. He continued to chase down the Heavenly King of the Otherworld. The Heavenly King had left the gathering point of the wild beasts. It rapidly moved, until both were outside the territory of the base city. The otherworld Heavenly King was surprised and furious to see that the lunatic was still on its tail. That lunatic was even ignoring the wild beasts just to chase it down. No kidding. After all, it was a warrior at the fate state. No way could Suaping catch up with it. Still, the Heavenly King realized that the obstacles it created for Suaping didn't work, that guy continued rushing after it, regardless of the barriers. No shit. He won't catch up with me, will he? The Heavenly King ran with faster speed, and to do that, it would have to abandon some of its limbs. Loud noises resounded as pieces of its limbs fell to the ground. Those limbs could be regenerated, but they were only liabilities for the moment. The Heavenly King had also absorbed the strength of the limbs as well. The Heavenly King of Otherworld gained more speed as it abandoned more limbs. Suaping felt he was reaching his limit. Was he? The Heavenly King was just ahead of him. He couldn't give up. Roar! A demon heard the calling from the force field behind him. It stopped floating around in the force field, then it reached out with its sharp claws, and grabbed Suaping. The demon wrapped itself around Suaping. Boom! Suaping managed to shorten the distance between him and the Heavenly King again with another increase of speed. The Heavenly King had just caught a breath when it felt Suaping approaching. Seriously? Has he not reached his limit yet? Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them ran crazily in the wild, one chasing the other. The Heavenly King reappeared by using teleportation every now and then, leaving behind a massive pit on the ground every time it did. After an indeterminate period of time, the Otherworld Heavenly King saw a body of water in front of them. The ocean? It never occurred to the Heavenly King that the pursuit would take a long period since it had been forced to travel to a far-off distance. Go to hell! The Heavenly King heard that shout. Suaping went after it like a bullet. Blood was gushing out from Suaping. That tearing pain was too much, so much that even a Beast King would have passed out. The Otherworld Heavenly King turned on its heel in astonishment and hurried to confine the space. Boom! Suaping bumped into something which slowed him down. Still, he sped up again, and soon went after it through the confined space. Go to hell! Suaping shouted. The majestic virtual figure behind him punched out at the same time Suaping did. Bang! The Heavenly King of the Otherworld used its roots and vines to fend off the strike, and yet all the vines and roots were smashed, pouring out blood. The impact took the Otherworld Heavenly King directly to the ocean. Blood tainted the water red. The Heavenly King was furious for having ended in such an embarrassing state. Don't ever think I cannot defeat you. You are out of your mind for trying to kill me. Suaping shouted as a reply and then stepped forward to throw another punch. The divine energy from the punch overwhelmed the Heavenly King. With a boom, that massive lotus burst into pieces. Still, a blood-red flower flew out from the remains, which was the original form of the Otherworld Heavenly King. The lotus pieces fell into the ocean, stirring up waves and turning the ocean red with the blood. At number yen. Furiously and painfully, the Heavenly King hurled out a serving of verbal abuse. It had taken more than 1,000 years to build up that lotus body and Suaping had destroyed it. While the Heavenly King of Otherworld was on the verge of losing its mind, it chose not to continue that fight with Suaping. The other Heavenly Kings would soon give chase if they knew it was in such a state. It continued with the escape efforts after suppressing its anger, believing that Suaping would give up at some point. On the off chance that he wouldn't relent, the Heavenly King had decided to lure the human to some perilous location to end his life. Suaping stared at the blood-red flower that had freed itself from that huge lotus body. He was about to land another punch. However, weariness suddenly overpowered him as soon as he lifted his fist. Blood was oozing from his ears and mouth, even his sight had been tainted red. The Heavenly King teleported again while he paused for a second. Suaping summoned up the strength, but he merely moved for a few hundred meters before he coughed out blood. The white bones were trembling. Some of them began to fall off. Suaping noticed that the strength inside him was fading. No, not now! Suaping screamed. He needed the strength for revenge. Against his will, the strength ebbed away. He could no longer see the otherworld heavenly king. Suaping was petrified with a sorrowful expression, realizing that he was no longer able to continue the fight. He summoned the purple python and had it take him away, just in case the heavenly king noticed his weakness and decided to return for him. He had to live, at least until he exacted revenge. Wherever the heavenly king went, he would find it and kill it. That was his goal. On the outer wall, the otherworld heavenly king had fled and the leading beast kings had been killed by Suaping. The remaining wild beasts were without their leaders. They were still striking the outer wall, albeit with less energy. Many titled battle pet warriors hurried over from other sides to help. I heard the otherworld heavenly king is here. We're here to help. Are there really several beast kings? Where is the otherworld heavenly king? Those titled battle pet warriors were surprised after they arrived, because they failed to see any beast kings in the area. Were they victims of fake news? Venerable the Blade as well as Qin Dehuang and many titled battle pet warriors of the Qin family were among the reinforcements. The Qin family was the only family able to spare some helping hands at this moment. Things changed drastically when Suaping's swamp war crocodile arrived at the east side. It worked well with Qin Dehuang, who had just reached the legendary rank, and the storm scorpion he had bought from Suaping. The east side was secure and the rest of the wild beasts could be handled by Xiejin Shui. Qin Dehuang gathered a team and hurried over upon learning about the threats at the south side. He wasn't in charge of the south side, but there would be no more Longjiang if it were breached. No egg can remain intact when a bird's nest is overturned. But the situation in the south baffled all of them. The outer wall was broken, but the wild beasts found there seemed to be the weakest of all. There was no trace of the heavenly king, at all. Is the otherworld heavenly king here? Did you send out the wrong information? Or was this all a ruse? They went to question Mu Bahai, Lu Tianzong, and the titled battle pet warrior from the government. Mu Bahai produced a forced smile. Of course, they had not been sending out fake information. What you heard is true. But the otherworld heavenly king has just left. Mr. Su is chasing after it. They just left the area together. Indeed. There were 3 beast kings here, but Mr. Su finished all of them. Lu Tianzong and Mu Bahai explained. Mu Bahai darted a glance at Qin Dehuang, realizing that his old-time rival seemed different. There was something scary about him. Mu Bahai had never been close to Qin Dehuang, but he was not afraid of him, either. However, just standing next to Qin Dehuang was making Mu Bahai shudder with fright. He finished the beast kings. The otherworld heavenly king is gone? And Mr. Su went after it. Astounded, they all stared at the two that had just briefed them about the situation. Chasing after the otherworld heavenly king? Is there something wrong with your mouths or our ears? We're talking about the otherworld heavenly king, king among beast kings. The otherworld heavenly king has lived on the blue planet for thousands of years. No one has been able to solve that problem yet. Now, you were telling us that Suaping is going after it. Who is this Mr. Su? Some titled battle pet warriors from other base cities felt they had to pose the question. The locals didn't answer because they were still processing their astonishment. Who is this Mr. Su? Mr. Su is Mr. Su. The one who no one can understand. He, Venerable the Blade, was so shocked that he was only able to utter one word. Eventually, all the words left unsaid turned into a bitter smile. He had thought that Suaping had demonstrated his strongest abilities at the Supremacy League. But there, this day, Suaping had driven a heavenly king away. That was the otherworld heavenly king, for crying out loud. One that even the legendary battle pet warriors were scared of. They would have to gather in groups of 7 or 8 to even talk about fighting this heavenly king, king among beast kings. Venerable the Blade remembered that Suaping was merely at the titled rank. A titled battle pet warrior fighting a heavenly king? Venerable the Blade stopped his mind from wandering around. His world view had been turned upside down. The wild beasts were still running rampant while they were still in shock. The fire and the shouts dragged those battle pet warriors back to reality. Qin Duhuang was the first to recover from his astonishment. Even though the revelation had filled him with apprehension, he understood that dealing with the wild beasts was the priority at hand. They had to do their utmost to prevent more casualties from occurring. Come on, people! Let's finish the wild beasts! Qin Duhuang shouted. He unleashed astral powers that belonged to those at the ocean state. The ones unaware of his breakthrough were startled by that burst of energy. Legendary rank. Those at the peak of the titled rank knew that such rich astral powers couldn't have been found in titled rankers. They couldn't help but eye Qin Duhuang with respect. Venerable the Blade was just as startled. He and Qin Duhuang were acquaintances. That old man who had lost his edge for quite a few years had broken through to the legendary rank. The most stunned of all were Mu Bahai and Lu Tianzong. They had spent years fighting a battle of wits and courage with Qin Duhuang, still, the latter had surpassed them by reaching the legendary rank. Soon, Mu Bahai remembered that faint calling he once felt. He believed that he would soon reach that rank as well. Still, the thought of the calling reminded him of his deceased battle pet, the flaming dark phoenix. The thought of the phoenix burning itself and transferring its energy to him was about to tear his heart apart. Kill them! Kill those bastards! Mu Bahai clenched his teeth. He didn't wait for anyone else, directly charging into the battlefield. There were no more beast kings. The most powerful of the remaining beasts were those at the peak of the 9th rank. They posed no threat to Mu Bahai. The others were startled by Mu Bahai's sudden burst of anger. The miserable cries of the beasts kindled their spirits. One after another, they also joined in and charged toward the wild beasts. Boom! A large number of wild beasts gathered next to the hole on the outer wall were cleared away by Qin Duhuang and the others. Venerable the Blade held his saber and ran around madly among the wild beasts. Each wave of his saber would claim the life of one wild beast. Even the beasts at the 9th rank died with a single slash. All the others resorted to their special skills. The morale was rising and the tables had turned for a moment. The wild beasts were pushed back from the outer wall. Those aimless creatures fell into disarray under the vicious attack. The number of wild beasts on the south side was smaller, to begin with. The battle pet warriors managed to exterminate a great number, including many beasts of the 9th rank. The wild beasts began to withdraw. They fled and ran, leaving behind many dead bodies. Blood flooded and remains piled up. The battle pet warriors who survived the tragedy felt both glad and sad. The dead bodies didn't just belong to wild beasts, their fellow battle pet warriors were also mixed among them. Were a look, I think that's Mr. Su's battle pet. Lu Tianzong, who was chasing after the wild beasts, suddenly saw something coming in the distance that made him smile. The others also saw a python approaching. Only a few titled battle pet warriors who had taken the trouble to get to know Suaping knew about the battle pet that he seldom used. Is Mr. Su back? Suaping was back. What about the other world heavenly king? Whoosh! 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 The titled battle pet warriors rushed to Suaping. Venerable the Blade and Qin Duhuang killed the beasts in their surroundings and ran to meet the python, too. The snake pet wiggled forward regardless of the many titled battle pet warriors. Not even Qin Duhuang was able to make the python stop. Suddenly, the python heard something. It stopped and opened its mouth. Suaping sat up. He had recovered a bit on the way back and was finally able to move about on his own. He flew out from the purple python's mouth and stood on its head. He cast a tender look at the scattered bones of the little skeleton and patted its white bones. Mr. Su! Mr. Su, you're back! People happily called his name. Mu Bahai asked, Mr. Su, where is the other world heavenly king? Those who hailed from other base cities were asking about who that Mr. Su was. They gazed at the young man in a daze. It turned out that Mr. Su was a young man. They had thought Mr. Su was some legendary battle pet warrior who had remained incognito all this time. He is the Fate Challenger. Someone who participated in the Supremacy League recognized Suiping right away. It was a surprise that Mr. Su was the Fate Challenger who had created a scene during the Supremacy League. That person who had dared to kill a legendary battle pet warrior was there, in the Longjiang base city. It got away, Suiping said in a low voice. A glint of killing intent flashed in his eyes and vanished. Still, that was amazing news. The fact that Suiping looked so unhappy left the other people speechless. A heavenly king had been pursued by a human being, one person. Such a piece of news was so stunning, it would not only rock the Longjiang base city but the whole world. The legendary battle pet warriors would be petrified. Those who were aware that Suiping was a Fate Challenger wondered if he had made the breakthrough to the legendary rank in a couple of days, back when he was at the titled rank, during the Supremacy League. Otherwise, how could a titled battle pet warrior have the ability to fight a monster like the Heavenly King? Suiping looked around the battlefield. The wild beasts were running and a large number of them had been slaughtered. The ground was drenched in blood, covered in beast corpses. The dead beast kings stood out. Suiping clenched his fists. The thought of the Inferno Dragon pained him. Suddenly, he heard a feeble voice. Master, Suiping was struck dumb. Was that, the Inferno Dragon? Was it still alive? Abruptly, Suiping stood up and looked around. People were baffled by the sudden movement. But Suiping didn't care what they were thinking. Finally, he saw a faint, golden figure in the air. It was the Inferno Dragon. Boom! Although his astral power reserve was almost empty, Suiping squeezed out the rest and dashed toward that golden figure as fast as he could. The familiarity told him that it was the Inferno Dragon. It was right there. The golden figure floated in the air, unable to move otherwise, even turning around was incredibly slow. The Inferno Dragon was happy to see Suiping approaching. Suiping on the verge of tears, but he held them back. He suddenly noticed that the bond of the contract between him and the Inferno Dragon was feeble, but it was there. Suiping wasn't sure about the state of the Inferno Dragon. It had no tangible body, it was more like a ball of energy. Is this the Inferno Dragon's soul? He didn't know, he had no idea about what to do. That is the dragon's soul. The system jumped out. It sounded solemn, there was a trace of emotion in its voice, which was different from how it usually sounded like. That monster just destroyed its body. The dragon must have learned skills to refine its soul before. I think that is because it has spent a lot of time with you and the little skeleton. The dragon learns to save its soul in critical times. The soul remains also because of the spring you bathed in. Suiping asked at once, what do I do now? Can the Inferno Dragon recover? The body is gone, and the soul is exposed to nature. If it weren't for the divine energy, the soul would have been sucked into the world of the dead and your contract would have been terminated. That would be death as you humans know it. You will have to visit the world of dragons and find the dragon origin to help your dragon rebuild its body and bloodline. I also suggest you find an herb called Soul Nurturer to refine the soul as soon as possible. Otherwise, the divine energy won't last long enough. At this rate, the soul won't last more than 3 days. So, I have to find the herb in 3 days? Where should I even begin? He asked the system. That is your problem, not mine, the system answered. Suiping bit his teeth. He didn't blame the system, though. He was grateful enough that the system had offered him some guidance. Can I take it to the contract space? Will the soul last longer there? You can, but still, you have 3 days. Suiping was in a gloomy mood, but he still chose to call the Inferno Dragon's soul back. Wait for me. I will find a way to bring you back to life. I will not let you vanish. Suiping said to the Inferno Dragon's soul. The Inferno Dragon replied with a weak voice, I will not fall, it promised. Suiping clenched his fist. His eagerness to finish off the otherworld heavenly king became more intense. Suiping went back after the Inferno Dragon's soul was retrieved. He asked Qin Dehuang and the others without delay, "Have you heard about some herb called Soul Nurturer?" The system could not help him. He had to rely on those people and Joanna. If they didn't know, he would go and ask Joanna. Soul Nurturer. No one expected that question. "I haven't heard of it," someone answered with a timid voice. The others shook their heads. Suiping turned to Venerable the Blade. He had been working with a legendary battle pet warrior, so he might be versed enough to know. Venerable the Blade had never seen Suiping so anxious before. Although unwilling, he shook his head in denial. Suiping's mind felt heavy. Suddenly Qin Dehuang said, "I think I've heard of it." Suiping's eyes glowed. "Where can I find it?" "I've heard about it from Xiejin Shui. I think the herb is, at the tower." Qin Dehuang sounded uncertain. "We were drinking and he mentioned it in passing. You'll have to ask him." Whoosh! He was about to move when the pain in his internal organs made him cough out blood. He fell to the ground. People were freaked out. With sharp eyes and agile hands, Qin Dehuang helped Suiping up. "Mr. Su, be careful." Suiping was barely able to see things clearly and the pain was unbearable. "Take me to Xiejin Shui," he said, with a weary tone. Qin Dehuang cautioned him, "Mr. Su, you're not well. You need to rest." "Take me to him." Suiping glared at Qin Dehuang, his eyes red. Suiping's glare filled him with dread, not even his legendary warrior cultivation was enough to endure it. "Okay, I will. I'll take you to him," Qin Dehuang promised. He carried Suiping up and took to the sky. "I'll leave the rest to you." "I'm on my way back to the east," Qin Dehuang said before he left. People nodded. The battle pet warriors, Mu Bahai and Lu Tianzong who had been stationed in the south side clearly knew what had made Suiping so anxious. That famous Inferno Dragon had been squeezed to death in battle by the otherworld Heavenly King. Many people witnessed that. Battle pets were the most important things for battle pet warriors. Still, they didn't expect that Suiping would be so distressed because of his battle pet. Whoosh! Qin Dehuang headed toward the east at full speed. The purple python followed him on the ground. On the east side, gunfire licked the heavens. The cannon shells landed on the wild beasts one after the other. Many battle pet warriors were chasing after the wild beasts with their battle pets. At the center of the crowd was a huge crocodile that was orchestrating a killing spree. The crocodile tore and bit. No wild beast could survive that snout. On the outer wall, some exhausted titled battle pet warriors were having a break. Staring at the crocodile that was running wild, they exclaimed with envy and excitement. "Mr. Su's ride is barbaric." "Of course. I still cannot believe that the crocodile finished 2 Beast Kings in a row. I heard that there were Beast Kings on sale in Mr. Su's store. I wish we could have a chance to buy one." They wished they could have battle pets like that one. But they were just thinking about it. They couldn't even have an average Beast King, let alone one as mighty as that crocodile. "I wonder how the South is doing. I heard the otherworld Heavenly King is there." The Qin family head went there to help. They wore concerned expressions. Things had stabilized at the east side with the Beast Kings gone. The wild beasts were many, but the ones remaining were unable to gather since the crocodile was there. Being in a state of disunity, the wild beasts were unable to escape the slaughter and impending defeat. Still, no matter how good things were there, if the south side was breached, the good situation achieved there would not be of any help. The battle would not end while the Heavenly King was still there, and the chance to be victorious would be almost nil. Xiejin Shui stood on the city wall. He didn't go and join in the fight in person, he tried to minimize casualties with his commands. He called the commander responsible. "How is the South doing?" Soon, he heard a report delivered in an excited voice. Xiejin Shui had to doubt the credibility of what he was hearing. The otherworld Heavenly King escaped? Sui Ping chased it away? The south was secure? Xiejin Shui felt he had to be dreaming. He certainly wished for such a situation but could not dare to hope for it. He had to verify the information several times to be sure that his hearing worked just fine and the person on the other side of the call was not an imposter. It was true. The otherworld Heavenly King ran away. That piece of news was enough to shock the world. Sui Ping was a mysterious man. Maybe he was able to do it. The young man was capable of deeds that could shock the world. Longjiang was saved. The people in the Longjiang base city were saved. Xiejin Shui's eyes were filled with tears. People asked why his eyes were teary. He answered with a laugh, a tearful laugh. We are saved. Before the battle started, Xiejin Shui could not even imagine that possibility. He stayed, prepared to die together with the Longjiang base city. He had not had the slightest confidence that they would be able to survive the attack of a heavenly king. As far as he was concerned, since they had failed to convince a legendary battle pet warrior of the tower to help them, it was basically impossible for them to guard the city. But the miracle had happened. Ha, 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 Xiejin Shui laughed as he looked into the sky. The tension in his heart was gone, and he unclenched his fists. His laugh echoed in the sky. The battle pet warriors were clueless, not knowing why the mayor was that happy. It was clear that only good news would produce such a pleasant mood. People were able to see hope. Sir, what is it? Someone asked. Xiejin Shui finally finished laughing. He took a deep breath and shouted, the otherworld Heavenly King was defeated. We won. Listen up. Let's go and kill those bastards. With that said, he mobilized his astral powers and flew to enter the battlefield. The others trembled in excitement. The Heavenly King was defeated? Who did it? Anyway, Longjiang was safe since the Heavenly King fled the battle. They saved the base city from the otherworld Heavenly King. Incredible! Excited and overjoyed, people's spirits were at a new high. They shouted and bellowed, even the exhausted titled battle pet warriors hurled themselves into the fight after taking some potions. Kill them! The wild beast's defeat was achieved even faster. Soon after, Qin Duhuang arrived with Sui Ping. Qin Duhuang first noticed Xiejin Shui was on the battlefield. He was surprised to see Xiejin Shui fighting personally. He can't sit still, can he? Qin Duhuang helped Sui Ping settle down on the outer wall. Mr. Su, wait here. I will get old Xie for you. Sui Ping could barely muster the strength to nod. Whoosh! Qin Duhuang flew off from the outer wall and hurried to see Xiejin Shui. Xiejin Shui was having a good time killing those wild beasts. He immediately invited Qin Duhuang to join him, but the latter told him about Sui Ping. Surprised by this, Xiejin Shui darted a look at Sui Ping. Sui Ping's state made him stop right away and go back with Qin Duhuang. Mr. Su. Xiejin Shui could not believe it. He had never seen Sui Ping so weak before. His face was as pale as a piece of paper, as if his blood would have been drained. Even standing straight was a problem for Sui Ping, he could fall at any moment. Xiejin Shui remembered the news he had heard. He saluted Sui Ping formally. Mr. Su, thank you, he said, choking with emotion. It's okay, Sui Ping paused to take a breath before he asked, I heard that you know about the soul nurturer. Is that true? Qin Duhuang only told Xiejin Shui that Sui Ping had requested his audience, but not the exact matter. Xiejin Shui nodded. Yes. Mr. Su, why the question? I need it, Sui Ping said, do you know where to find it? Sui Ping spoke with haste. Xiejin Shui looked at Qin Duhuang and was immediately enlightened. He knew that soul nurturer was beneficial for the soul. One would only use the soul nurturer when someone or something's body was gone but the soul remained and was properly preserved. Xiejin Shui had worked out a theory in regards to Sui Ping's impatience. Mr. Su, do not worry. The tower has the soul nurturer in storage. I can take you there any time to ask for it, if you want, Xiejin Shui assured Sui Ping. His face turned even more colorless. Sui Ping seemed to be even more anxious than he had expected. Xiejin Shui took Sui Ping gently by the arm. Mr. Su, are you all right? I think you need to take some rest. You must have overworked yourself, given the circumstances. I'm okay, Sui Ping panted. Hardly had his voice died down when he blacked out. He saw many shadows of demons and fiends in his eyes and the fatigue assaulted him. Mr. Su. His collapse scared Xiejin Shui and Qin Duhuang. They hurried to aid him. Neither of them knew that Sui Ping was so badly worn out that he would end up passing out. This gave them an idea of how much effort Sui Ping must have invested when he was hunting down the otherworld Heavenly King. Qin Duhuang carried Sui Ping up and said to Xiejin Shui, I'll have someone escort Mr. Sui back to his store and call him a healer. I will leave the safety matters to you. Xiejin Shui nodded. It was thanks to Sui Ping that the Heavenly King was driven away and the Longjiang base city was safe. The priority was to take care of Sui Ping and make sure that nothing would happen to him. Go. Okay. Qin Duhuang left right away. After Qin Duhuang left, Xiejin Shui took a deep breath and called for reports of the other sides. The north and west sides were secured, which relieved him. He was even more grateful to Sui Ping. The north side was secured because of Sui Ping's dragon. Otherwise, the north side would have been the first to be breached, because it would have been almost impossible for the Ye family and the appointed warriors to stop 3 beast kings. Guys, come on! Xiejin Shui unsheathed his sword and charged toward the wild beasts. The other battle pet warriors answered his call and threw themselves back into battle. Morale rose at the north and west sides upon learning that the Heavenly King had been chased away. Everyone was full of vigor. Some titled battle pet warriors that had thought about saving some strength were inspired. They went back to the battlefield and soon crushed the wild beasts. The wild beasts that had arrived to destroy the Longjiang base city were routed. The battle pet warriors ran wildly among the wild beasts. Some battle pet warriors were able to team up. They made great contributions by leveraging their combined strength. The wild beasts cried and the humans bellowed. There were rivers of blood and mountains of corpses around the base city. Once the Heavenly King left, the battle lasted for 3 more hours. There would be wild beasts dying or injured every second. Finally, the enemy attacks were repulsed. Once the wild beasts fled in great disorder, Xiejin Shui sent out the news that the base city was safe again. All the battle pet warriors that stayed behind to defend the Longjiang base city were brought to warm, excited tears. The blood was not shed in vain. They did it. They saved the city when the otherworld Heavenly King and several beast kings were leading the attack. Everyone was happy and proud of themselves. They grieved at the same time, over the loss of their partners in arms and loved ones. The 5 family heads replied to the good news with silence. The families had sacrificed many battle pet warriors, from the young generation to titled battle pet warriors. Above all, they were their dear family members. Even though the battle had been won, the price paid was huge. The number of dead wild beasts was beyond count and the number of deceased battle pet warriors was also beyond calculation. After some break, Xiejin Shui sent someone to track down the fleeing wild beasts and told people to keep on monitoring the situation in case the Heavenly King would stage a comeback. In the meantime, Xiejin Shui had people identify deceased battle pet warriors and take their remains back. Those battle pet warriors were all heroes. They had died to protect the Longjiang base city. They would never leave their remains in the wild. The teams that went to collect the remains carried out the mission with sorrowful hearts. One AIA they had identified many deceased battle pet warriors. Some of them were still in the mouths of the wild beasts, their bodies halved. And yet, they had still put up one hell of a fight before they died. Some of the battle pet warriors stuck their arms in the beasts' heads. Some were still inside the wild beast's stomach, badly mutilated. There were torn limbs on the ground. The current view was definitely gruesome. There was fear on some of the corpses' faces and violence on others. Each deceased battle pet warrior represented a broken family. No one was able to tell how many families would grieve over a lost family member. The Longjong base city was saved. But the cost had been too high. After the initial stage of joy dwindled, people were stunned speechless by the number of casualties. The entire Longjong base city fell under the shadows of sadness. Xiejin Shui had been in the mood to throw a party when the first wave of beasts was routed, since only a few battle pet warriors had died and Suiping had returned in time. But this time, he wasn't in such a mood. What is there to celebrate when so many have died? After making arrangements, Xiejin Shui paid a visit to the battle pet warriors from other base cities and sincerely thanked them. They had helped them greatly. The base city might have already been breached without their help. It was true that Suiping had been driving away the most terrifying threat, but the other wild beasts weren't creatures to be underestimated. It was because of the cooperation that they succeeded. Some had already left Longjong and gone back to their base cities. They had achieved the original goal of giving support, and thus no longer needed to stay. The other forces that had offered help chose to leave after they met with Xiejin Shui. The Longjong base city was safe. They didn't need to prolong their stay. Xiejin Shui opened up the treasury and gifted the forces from other base cities with either money, treasures, herbs, plants, or eggs of rare pets. Afterward, he hurried to the Pixie Pet Store. The biggest credit belonged to Suiping. They would have had to deal with greater sacrifices without him, and still, the base city would have been doomed. No one was able to stop the otherworld Heavenly King. None of them was even close to the Heavenly King's strength. Xiejin Shui was quite worried about Suiping. He went to the store and saw many familiar faces. There was also Venerable the Blade and Wu Guansheng, the famous healing hands. Xiejin Shui remembered that their first visit to the Longjong base city had been because of Yuan Tianchen. But Suiping was the reason for their following visits and their stay. Xiejin Shui asked Wu Guansheng at once, "How is Mr. Su? Has he woken up yet?" Wu Guansheng shook his head. "Not yet. Mr. Su's situation is strange. He lost his blood and some new blood has just been generated by his bone marrow. I used my skill to help him generate more blood. He's stable, he should be up by now, theoretically speaking. But he's still in a coma. I think his spirit was also severely damaged. He lost his blood." Xiejin Shui could not believe that. He remembered how colorless Suiping looked. How could a person survive when there was no blood? That would not happen for anyone, not even the battle pet warriors. It was a miracle that Suiping had been able to survive. "Mr. Su," Xiejin Shui clenched his fists. He didn't know what to say after Suiping had gone to such lengths to fight the otherworld Heavenly King. Protecting the base city was a given for any mayor, but he had barely done anything. He didn't even succeed in getting a legendary battle pet warrior to give them a hand. Xiejin Shui felt he was just a failure, without a single redeeming feature. He was full of remorse and pain. Will she have a solution? Xiejin Shui remembered the resident legendary battle pet warrior. Soon, he saw Joanna, who was leaning against the pet room's door. The girl with a breathtaking face was so aloof that she didn't seem to be from this world. Ren the others also turned to see her. The girl received Suiping when they took him back to the store, and she would not let anyone hear him. Wu Guansheng tried hard to persuade her and showed her some of his skills. She eventually allowed him to tend to Suiping. "He's not dying. He's just worn out. You don't have to worry about him," Joanna said coldly. Her answer was a big relief. "Good, that is good." Xiejin Shui heaved a long sigh. "It is all my fault. I can't do anything right. Mr. Su wouldn't have needed to fight alone if I could have convinced a legendary battle pet warrior to help us. At the very least, there would have been a legendary battle pet warrior helping him deal with the Heavenly King." Qin Duhuang fell silent. He had just reached the legendary rank and the only other person that was at this rank apart from Joanna. However, he left the heavenly king of Otherworld to a person that was not even at the legendary rank. Go back to your business if you have nothing else to do here. You won't be of any help, Joanna said. Her words made them feel even more frustrated. They soon left one after the other. In one of the pet room's nursing pens, Suaping was resting while not moving a muscle, his eyes were tightly shut. You were so seriously wounded and yet the existence behind you still hasn't decided to come out. After everyone was gone, Joanna sat in the pet room, gazing at Suaping. She could tell that Suaping must have used some special skill. She had already learned something about the skeleton. It was said that the Skeleton King had the chance to master the skill of possession. The little skeleton had woken up and was at the moment resting close to Suaping. The little skeleton was evidently at the star rank, which was an indication that the bloodline awakening had been completed. Do you know that you almost got your master killed? Joanne grumpily said to the little skeleton, which was scattered in another nursing pen. The little skeleton's eye sockets glowed and it moved its jaws. Joanna raised her eyebrows. Don't talk back to me. He wouldn't have ended up like this if you hadn't allowed him to overdo himself. He almost died. He would have been dead by now if it weren't for the fact that he's blessed with a strange and ancient constitution. The little skeleton closed its jaws and the glow in its eye sockets died down. Joanna snorted, not saying anything else to the little skeleton. Why are you doing this? Why do you have to try so hard when you have such a strong support? You should just live your comfortable little life and cultivate. You will grow to reach the star rank and even become a god in the future. How stupid, Joanna mumbled. In darkness, Suaping was having the longest nightmare. In his dream, the Inferno dragon died, including the little skeleton, the dark dragon hound, and the purple python, all of them died. Despair. Terror. No. Suaping shouted. The next second, he opened his eyes. He sat up. Light leaped into his sight and he was gradually able to see things. Pain shrouded him. He looked around, realizing that he was in a nursing pen. He was back in his store. After being dazed for a while, Suaping sat up and dashed out of the nursing pen regardless of the pain. What? Joanna, who was cultivating and keeping an eye on Suaping in another nursing pen, was alerted by him. She stepped out from the pen. You're up. Where are you off to? How long have I been unconscious? Suaping asked. 2 days. Joanna frowned. You need some good rest. You should know you almost died. 2 days. Suaping was filled with a mix of fear and happiness. Luckily, just 2 days, one more day and he would have been drowned in self-hate. He wanted to get his phone to call Xiejin Shui, only then did he realize that he was wearing a new set of clothes. Where's my phone? He asked, baffled. Joanna blushed slightly. In that locker. Suaping didn't notice anything unusual about her shyness. He hurried to the locker and dug out his phone. He called Xiejin Shui right away. Sir, it's Suaping. Do you have time? We need to get to the tower now. Suaping said in haste. Mr. Su, you're up. Xiejin Shui was gladly surprised. No problem, I'll be right there in a moment. Xiejin Shui delegated all of his matters to his secretary after the call. 2 days had passed after the wild beasts were driven away. There were no cheers, no celebration in the Longjiang base city, which was in mourning for the heroes that had passed away in the battle. The survivors had been publishing messages on social websites to honor the deceased. Dealing with the aftermath was troublesome. Still, Xiejin Shui decided to go to the tower with Suaping. Suaping was on tenterhooks. He checked the state of the Inferno dragon's soul in the contract space. The soul's color was still golden and it was holding on, which relieved his anxiety. Sir, you're going to the tower. Zhongling Tong was happy to see that Suaping was up. She was also surprised since he wanted to hurry to visit the tower. Even though she wasn't a battle pet warrior, she had also heard about the tower. That was a place where legendary battle pet warriors gathered. Why was Suaping going there? Tang Ruin, too, was surprised to find that Suaping wanted to leave for the tower as soon as he woke up. Suaping was more than happy to see the two girls were still safe and sound. How are things in the Longjiang base city? Are the wild beasts gone? Yes. Tang Ruin briefed Suaping about the current situation. Suaping replied with silence. The wild beasts were gone, but the deceased would never come back. The thought of the Inferno Dragon filled him with even gloomier thoughts. He knew all too well how painful it was to lose a loved one. Soon after, Xiejin Shui arrived in Suaping's store. Mr. Su, are we leaving now? Xiejin Shui was glad to see Suaping had recovered a bit and the hint of rosy color had returned to his cheeks. Suaping nodded. How fast can we get to the tower? Half a day. Xiejin Shui could tell how anxious Suaping was. Another person arrived while they talked. It was Qin Dehuang. Are you going to the tower? I'm going with you. Suaping didn't understand, but Xiejin Shui did. Right, you should go. You just reached the legendary rank, so you must report to the tower. They would scold you if you don't go in time, and they would end up coming here to get you. Qin Dehuang nodded. It had been a rule for years that everyone had to report to the tower after reaching the legendary rank. Suaping hopped onto the dark dragon hound and invited Xiejin Shui and Qin Dehuang to take a seat next to him. Both were aware that this battle pet was as vicious as a beast king. They hesitated, clearly fearful of the battle pet, but considering they could not lose any time, they immediately flew up to land on the battle. Suaping told the dark dragon hound to fly as quickly as it could. The pet didn't fool around with Suaping this time, it flew like a dragon, quickly leaving the shanty town area and then the base city. Sir, please show us the way, Suaping said to Xiejin Shui. Xiejin Shui was still amazed by the battle pet's fast speed. Of course. He nodded. Once they were outside the base city, Suaping stood on the back of the dark dragon hound and looked down. There was still a large pile of dead wild beasts that had begun to rot due to the hot weather. There wasn't enough time to clear up all the corpses. The ground was covered with dried blood which had turned into a dark brown color, leaving a burnt mark on the ground. The area was so saturated with blood that not even a drop could seep into the dirt anymore. Suaping squinted. A glint of sharpness flashed past his eyes. Sir, please clear up the corpses and burn off the ones that you cannot clean up. The festering bodies can produce contagious diseases, Suaping warned. Xiejin Shui and Qin Dehuang were pondering about the same thing as they gazed at the gruesome view outside the base city. Xiejin Shui nodded. I understand. We're still clearing up the area, but I do believe that the rest of the corpses must be burned, moving them takes too much time. I know that there are advanced wild beasts that have quite a good amount of valuable parts we can harvest, and it would be a shame to give them up. On the other hand, if some viruses emerged from the corpses and the wind took them to the base city, we would have to deal with another disaster altogether. Qin Dehuang agreed. The cleanup operation was taking a long time because they were harvesting the valuable parts from the wild beasts. Too many advanced beasts had died in the war. 2 days were not enough for them to go through all of the corpses, which was why the wilderness was still filled with them. The dark dragon hound whooshed away in the sky. They gradually became unable to see corpses as they traveled. Xiejin Shui would point the direction and Suaping would instruct the dark dragon hound. The tower. It was a sacred place where all the legendary battle pet warriors of the world gathered. The tower had no branch offices and the location of this mysterious place was only known by a few. It was located on a plain and snow-capped mountain near the subcontinent district's Nordic region. The snow would never melt. Just a few wild beasts could be spotted on the snowy plain, there rarely was any other sign of life. It was basically an uncultivated land. After crossing half of the subcontinent district, Suaping and his party had finally arrived at the snow-capped mountain. That is where the tower is. Xiejin Shui gazed at the towering, snow-capped mountain. The sharp peak of the snow-capped mountain reached the sky, surrounded by large black clouds at the top. It was snowing at the moment. Qin Duhuang seemed to be marveling at the view. I didn't know that the tower was right in our subcontinent district. I had only heard that our subcontinent district was the closest to the tower. It is said that the founder of the tower was a legendary battle pet warrior of our subcontinent district. So, this location was chosen because of it, Xiejin Shui explained. Let's go. Sui Ping was losing his patience. He urged the dark dragon hound to go ahead. The dark dragon hound flew away. The snow-capped mountain grew larger and larger in their perspective. Soon, they were inside the mountain. Large snowflakes fell from the grey sky, like feathers. That is the gate, Xiejin Shui pointed. Sui Ping and Qin Duhuang looked toward the peak of the snow-capped mountain. There stood a massive gate that carried some mysterious feeling. There was a meandering path that went from the gate to the base of the mountain. The strange thing was that the path was clear of all snow while the snow was falling heavily. Suddenly, a seemingly drunk man said, "Who are you, ignorant fools? This isn't a place for you." While he sounded drunk, he did not fail to convey a cold demeanor. It seemed that the voice could have originated from any direction and it was echoing around the mountain. A legendary battle pet warrior. Qin Duhuang could tell that the man was of the same rank. He didn't expect to meet a legendary battle pet warrior so soon upon their arrival. Xiejin Shui, on the other hand, was better prepared. Legend the Drunken, nice to meet you. I am Xiejin Shui, mayor of the Longjiang base city. Longjiang. The man sounded unhappy. I think you were here a couple of days ago. Yes. I was here to ask for help last time and this trip is to inquire about an herb. Xiejin Shui nodded. The mention of the previous visit clouded his face. All of a sudden, wind and snow began to dance and formed a ball. After the snowflakes were dispersed, an old man sitting on a huge gourd was revealed. That old man wore rags which left his chest exposed. He looked at the three from the corner of his eye. Suddenly, he noticed the heaven expansion dragon that they were standing on. He recognized that it wasn't an ordinary battle pet. Interesting. Soon, the old man realized that Qin Duhuang was at the legendary rank. Are you a new one? The drunk old man asked. Qin Duhuang nodded. My name is Qin Duhuang. I've just broken through. The drunk old man nodded. He could tell that Qin Duhuang was still immature at this rank. The drunk old man looked less tense since a legendary battle pet warrior was in the mix. Are you here to report? Good. You are daring enough to shoulder the great responsibility of protecting humanity. Qin Duhuang said some humble words in reply. All right now, come in, the drunk old man said to Xiejin Shui, I won't accuse you of anything now that you are here with a legendary battle pet warrior. You walked up the mountains according to the rules on your previous visit. You're not behaving this time. Xiejin Shui smiled an embarrassed smile but didn't attempt to talk back. He understood that walking up the mountain was the rule. And yet, he knew that Sui Ping was in a hurry and flying over on a pet would be pardoned since Qin was a legendary battle pet warrior. The drunk old man vanished into thin air again, without leaving a trace. Qin Duhuang could not figure out how the old man disappeared, which startled him. The confidence he had just built up after reaching the legendary rank had been crushed somewhat. Even a guard at the gate of the tower was that terrifying. Indeed, the legendary battle pet warrior's abilities varied. Let's go, Xiejin Shui said. A glow burst out from the door and a swirl appeared inside the door. The tower was just beyond that swirl. Sui Ping had placed the dark dragon hound back in the contract space. He gazed at the swirl in the air. He was able to tell that the space layers were overlapping in the swirl but they weren't harmful. Xiejin Shui took the lead and vanished as he went into the swirl. Sui Ping and Qin Duhuang followed him. They felt as if they had gone through a waterfall, except that they weren't drenched afterwards. When they opened their eyes again, Sui Ping and Qin Duhuang were amazed by what they saw. The world inside the swirl was vast and boundless. Clouds floated in the azure blue sky. Many palaces were also floating in the air. Sui Ping sensed that the gravity field was different there, and the astral powers were several times more profound than outside. Cultivation would progress much faster there. No wonder some titled battle pet warriors would rather stay there as servants. Just staying there could be beneficial. Is this place the tower? Qin Duhuang was a first-timer. He couldn't have thought of this view in his wildest imagination. The first thought that came to his mind as he felt the profound astral powers was that his Qin family's younger generations would develop rapidly if he could relocate them to that place. Even the mediocre youngsters could rise to be on par with the elites of other families after living in such an environment for some time. He wondered, as a legendary battle pet warrior, if he would be able to bring along his family members. While Qin Duhuang was pondering, Sui Ping had already recovered from his surprise. He had seen too many places like this one to be surprised for long. The place couldn't even compare to the castle Joanna lived in, since divine energy could be found there, aside from the known astral powers. Strange herbs and plants were also abundant. That was why Sui Ping would always think of ways to plunder left and right when he visited Joanna's realm. This is the Ocean Star, a mysterious realm. And you are? Two people flew over and both were wearing purple robes of the same style. The two weren't legendary, merely titled battle pet warriors. They were at the very peak of the titled rank, each of them stronger than Xiejin Shui. Xiejin Shui. One of the two recognized Xiejin Shui at once. He had just been there a couple of days before. What is he doing here again? Is he going to beg again? That titled battle pet warrior immediately said, "Is your base city still there? Are you here to ask us for legendary battle pet warriors again? That's not going to happen. No one can protect the base city when the otherworld heavenly king is there. I thought we told you to relocate your residence. Save whoever you can." Xiejin Shui pulled a long face. "I'm not here to request help from legendary battle pet warriors. The Longjiang base city is safe." He deliberately stressed the word safe. He was furious. No one went back with him and he had gotten down on his knees for nothing. If it weren't for Sui Ping, the base city would have been doomed. Even with Sui Ping's help, given the number of beast kings and the presence of the heavenly king, the casualties were still alarming and he couldn't even think of that subject. What would have happened if Sui Ping had not been there? Safe. The two titled battle pet warriors were surprised. Safe from the strike of the otherworld heavenly king? Soon, they thought they had figured out the reason. Good to know. So, the heavenly king was not there. I told you. Why would it go and strike your base city when we haven't detected its trace for years? You worried for nothing. Luckily we didn't send any legendary battle pet warriors. They would have been involved on a wild goose chase and you would have to shoulder the blame. Indeed. The other titled battle pet warrior nodded in agreement. Xiejin Shui wore a wrathful expression, but Qin Duhuang started before him, "Watch your mouth. Who said anything about the otherworld heavenly king not being there? Wild goose chase? It was a matter of life and death for a lot of people. What is one trip to them? Are all legendary battle pet warriors this pampered?" Before that war, Qin Duhuang had normally been a person who would conceal his anger and delight. He had become an old fox, contrary to his former raging spirit self. However, he had morphed back to the man that shook heaven and earth during the battle. He would speak his mind without concealing anything. He had also become a legendary battle pet warrior and no longer cared about those two titled battle pet warriors. He could kill them with a single thought. Even if he wasn't at the legendary rank, he was still fearless when he was at the peak of the titled rank. He was a proud man. He didn't go there to become a servant, no matter what the benefits were. Even titled battle pet warriors had their dignity. He would rather stay without the strength if he had to insult himself to get stronger. He was advanced in his age but not in his mind. The two were startled by Qin Duhuang's fit of anger. How dare he insult legendary battle pet warriors? Suddenly, they realized that Qin Dehuang was releasing an energy so overwhelming that they began to have trouble breathing. This man is a legendary battle pet warrior. They had seen too many legendary battle pet warriors in the tower to easily recognize that pressure. Besides, given the fact that both were at the peak of the legendary rank, no one at the titled rank could have stressed them out like that. If this man is a legendary battle pet warrior, then the insult. Never mind. You're a new legendary battle pet warrior. The two immediately wore fawning smiles, although hiding their anger and hatred behind their expressions. No one liked to bow down and butter up people. Dogs usually hide their teeth when they wag their tails. But this doesn't mean that the dogs don't have teeth. That was Qin Dehuang's answer. The two apologized with even more respect, and one of them added, "You must be here to report. Mr. Xie, is he from your base city? Congratulations! Congratulations! What a change of treatment!" The titled battle pet warriors had forgotten about their dignity. They swallowed their pride, but what kind of pride would that be? After a long time, their minds would warp, making them become irritable people. "I'm here to ask for an herb. Please show me the way to meet Legend Abyssal Ocean." Xiejin Shui went straight to the point. He wasn't in the mood to say another word to those two. An herb. The two were surprised. However, the two were afraid to ask further with Qin Dehuang present. They just said yes and showed them the way. Floating in the air was a jade staircase that led to the biggest palace. Outside the palace were many gardens, including some maids and servants. Even the help was at the titled rank. Indeed, only titled battle pet warriors were allowed to serve at the tower, not even master battle pet warriors had such a right. The maids and servants noticed people had arrived. They looked up and soon noticed that Qin Dehuang was different from the other two. They hurried to greet Qin Dehuang, while at the same time memorizing his energy signature and appearance. He certainly was a newcomer. They had met all the other legendary battle pet warriors working in the tower. "I am Legend Abyssal Ocean's servant. Sir, how should I address you?" A middle-aged titled battle pet warrior flew over. He first bowed to Qin Dehuang. Qin Dehuang darted a look at the man. "Are you from the Yu family of the Zhangjiang base city?" Qin Dehuang asked, surprised. The middle-aged titled man was stunned. "Sir, do you know the Yu family? I once compared notes with one of the titled battle pet warriors of your family," Qin Dehuang said, "just a friendly exchange, of course. I heard that the Yu family has been developing quite well. I didn't know I would meet Yu family members here." The middle-aged battle pet warrior took another glance at Qin Dehuang. He fought with a titled battle pet warrior of his family once. No legendary battle pet warrior had emerged from the Yu family. That was to say that both had been at the titled rank when they compared notes. However, the man present had reached the legendary rank while the Yu family member didn't. "I see. The Yu family was blessed to learn from you, sir." The middle-aged adopted a humble attitude. Indeed, the Yu family had been living good days, and part of the reason was that there were members of the Yu family working at the tower. The benefit of working there was that they could befriend legendary battle pet warriors. Anyone with the intent to harm the Yu family would have to think twice. He was a case in point. Legend Abyssal Ocean liked him quite a bit. When some forces tried to mistreat the Yu family, they would have to first think about Legend Abyssal Ocean. "Brother Qin is here to report. I am Xiejin Shui. I want to ask Legend Abyssal Ocean for an herb," Xiejin Shui answered. The middle-aged man decided that Xiejin Shui was not one to be belittled. He had to be quite close to the legendary battle pet warrior since he was addressing him as brother. "I remember you. Weren't you here before? I think you mentioned some beast strike about to hit your base city and something about the otherworld Heavenly King." The middle-aged titled battle pet warrior still remembered Xiejin Shui. The reason was that he had outdone himself on his past visit. He had knocked on the doors of each legendary battle pet warrior and disturbed them. No one would have been able to help him if he became disabled due to angering a legendary battle pet warrior. Yes. That is in the past. Please notify Legend Abyssal Ocean. We're in a hurry. Xiejin Shui was not in the mood to mention the strike. Just as he had mentioned, it was all in the past. The war would forever remain a scar in the base city, there was nothing he wanted to say to them. The middle-aged wondered if the base city was safe. After all, he heard about traces of the Heavenly King, a base city would never be safe in such a scenario, unless many legendary battle pet warriors were there. But he could not waste time on asking questions since Qin Dehuang was there. Okay, I will go report this right away. But I'm not sure if he can meet you, the middle-aged answered with some concern. He was worried that the guy would lose his mind again and barge in to kneel and beg. He would have to share the blame. Xiejin Shui nodded. The middle-aged went in and soon came back out. The middle-aged apologized, I'm sorry. Legend Abyssal Ocean is resting and cannot see you. He secretly mobilized astral powers, fearing that Xiejin Shui would try to force his way in. Whether Xiejin Shui would be punished to death for it was not certain. But the middle-aged man didn't want to get himself involved. Resting. Xiejin Shui turned to look at Suiping. Suiping's face became clouded. Does this legendary battle pet warrior have the soul nurturer? Suiping asked Xiejin Shui. Xiejin Shui shook his head. I do not know. I just heard that the herb is in the tower, but I don't know which legendary battle pet warrior has it. Legend Abyssal Ocean is in charge of the vault, so I suppose he knows. That is why I requested to see him. That explained it. Can you please ask Legend Abyssal Ocean to come out? I'm Suiping. I will never forget this kindness. The middle-aged man gazed at the young man. He was speechless. Never forget his kindness? Who do you think you are? That is a legendary battle pet warrior. Why would he need you to remember his kindness? The middle-aged man was about to say something when Qin Dehuang beat him to it. Can you ask Legend Abyssal Ocean to come out? We indeed are in a hurry. The middle-aged man stopped talking. He was unable to refuse since the legendary warrior had said so. Legend Abyssal Ocean might answer to the legendary battle pet warrior. The middle-aged man said yes and hurried away. He returned a moment later. Legend Abyssal Ocean is waiting for you. Please come in. It turned out that the legendary battle pet warrior had to do the talking. Xiejin Shui wished he could become a legendary battle pet warrior. Mr. Su, let's go. Suiping nodded. He could not wait another minute. He followed Qin Dehuang. The palace hall was resplendent and magnificent, all sorts of treasures were placed on the table as ornaments. There was a path leading to the backyard. The middle-aged man took them there. They soon sensed the presence of a beast king as soon as they arrived. There was a python covered in red scales, it was over 100 meters long and thick as a tree, curled up in the yard while placing its head on a tree. Sitting under the tree was an old man in a purple robe, smoking water pipes. The old man seemed to be enjoying himself. He darted a glance at Qin Dehuang. He had sensed Qin Dehuang's presence as the middle-aged man reported to him. An unfamiliar legendary battle pet warrior. A new guy. How should I address you? Legend Abyssal Ocean asked. Qin Dehuang could tell that the old man was not a friendly character. I am Qin Dehuang from the Longjiang base city, he answered without hesitation. The Qin family from the Longjiang base city. Legend Abyssal Ocean nodded. And how is Qin Tianshan related to you? Do you know my third great-grandpa? Third great-grandpa? Legend Abyssal Ocean cast a glance at Qin Dehuang. I got to know him when I was a titled battle pet warrior. I'm very sorry about his passing, and very glad to see talent in his offspring. Qin Dehuang tried hard, eventually, he could only find a few words to say, it is my honor to meet you, sir. He had to be humble. That old man had just claimed he knew Qin Tianshan at the beginning of the conversation, and he was way more powerful than Qin Dehuang. Qin Dehuang didn't know that he would still experience being belittled after he reached the legendary rank. He felt sorry for himself, he had become a legendary rank too late. He should be counted as one of the weak ones when compared to the other legendary battle pet warriors. Brother Qin, you're too humble. You're now at the legendary rank, we should be viewed as equals here. Legend Abyssal Ocean smiled. But that didn't mean what he said earlier was of no use. He was cautioning Qin Dehuang, in case he would show an overweening attitude after finally being liberated from the titled rank. Qin Dehuang nodded. If so, I will address you as Legend Abyssal Ocean. Of course. Legend Abyssal Ocean nodded. Come over and have a seat. That was only meant for Qin Dehuang. As for Suiping and Xiejin Shui, Legend Abyssal Ocean never cared to give them a single glance. They weren't at the legendary rank and should not be of his concern. Legend Abyssal Ocean, sir. Suiping didn't get mad, even if he was ignored. I'm Suiping from the Longjiang base city. I heard that I can find the soul nurturer here. Sir, could you please tell me where I can get it? I'm willing to trade with treasures or anything else that I have. What? Legend Abyssal Ocean frowned. Is he your servant? He asked Qin Dehuang. Qin Dehuang knew that Legend Abyssal Ocean must have misunderstood their standing. I do not dare to make him my servant. Legend Abyssal Ocean, you're not aware of this, but Mr. Sua is my savior. Mr. Sua is not at the legendary rank, but he's more powerful than many legendary battle pet warriors. I, for one, cannot defeat him. He knew that power was everything, so he directly pointed that out on Suiping's behalf. Are you kidding me? Legend Abyssal Ocean sounded unhappy. Brother Qin, you sound deranged. You have just reached the legendary rank and there are things you do not know. You're lucky that you've only said those words to me. I won't mind the joke for the sake of Brother Tian Shan, but other legendary battle pet warriors would have scolded you. Qin Dehuang's face was a bit cloudy. He had not said those words impulsively. He had spoken after careful deliberation. He was convinced that Suiping indeed was more powerful than a lot of legendary battle pet warriors. Which legendary battle pet warrior could have defeated the otherworld heavenly king alone? If they could, the tower would have sent a legendary battle pet warrior to the Longjiang base city. Legend Abyssal Ocean snorted. He didn't like Qin Dehuang, who was sitting by him at the moment. How could a legendary battle pet warrior be so short-sighted? Surpassing many legendary battle pet warriors? He could tell right away that Suiping was not one of them. A titled battle pet warrior at the peak with a strong background and outstanding talents could surpass legendary battle pet warriors, but just weak ones like Qin Dehuang. The usual was, after some practice and having replaced all the original battle pets with beast kings, legendary warriors could unleash a power that people could hardly imagine. Legend Abyssal Ocean was a case in point. If he wanted, he could kill Qin Dehuang right away. He had not reached the void state, but 7 of his battle pets were beast kings. He didn't have to do it himself. His battle pets alone could have crushed Qin Dehuang. After all, a new legendary ranker wouldn't have too many beast king pets. There are 3 states of the legendary rank, and Brother Qin, you will find out that the 3 states are quite different. The powerful legendary battle pet warriors can easily finish us, and the weak ones cannot even defeat those at the peak of the titled rank. Of course, by the weak ones, he meant Qin Dehuang. At the tower, no other legendary battle pet warriors could be that weak. Except for the new ones. Those at the peak of the titled rank that could defeat a legendary battle pet warrior awfully rare. The world could only see such a person emerge every few hundred years. He can defeat you? Legend Abyssal Ocean asked Qin Dehuang. Qin Dehuang nodded. He was at the legendary rank, but he was still fully aware that he was not a match for Suiping. The most powerful reliance he had was the storm scorpion, this pet, he had bought it from Suiping. He could only imagine how powerful Suiping's pets were if he was willing to sell beast kings. Legend Abyssal Ocean raised his eyebrows. He could not help but cast another look at Suaping. Fate challengers were few. Getting to see one was surprising. The soul nurturer you asked for belongs to Legend Pluto. That thing has no function other than making a lingering soul last longer. If you want it, go and ask Legend Pluto, Legend Abyssal Ocean answered indifferently. Where is Legend Pluto? How should I know? Xiejin Shui explained to Suaping, Mr. Su, I know where to find Legend Pluto. However, he's from another continent and he has never liked people from our subcontinent district. I'm afraid he is not going to accept the trade. Let's find out. A glint of coldness rose in Suaping's eyes. If a trade was off the table, he would snatch it. Legend Abyssal Ocean shook his head. You know what? I'll take you there for the sake of Brother Qin. The guy Pluto is probably at the Nightfall Mountain, they're having a good time there. Nightfall Mountain. Qin Duhuang had never heard about it before. Legend Abyssal Ocean didn't explain. He just said to the python, do continue the count. Finish it before I come back and make no mistakes. You'll get one lightning bolt as punishment for each mistake. The python sounded unhappy. That is, hard. The python didn't speak fluently, but it was indeed able to speak. It wasn't rare to find beast kings able to speak the human language. But Qin Duhuang was still curious. Is it counting the leaves? Is this some sort of training? Yes. Legend Abyssal Ocean nodded. It is talking slowly but it is quite smart. It just won number 7 at the counting match, he proudly claimed. The counting match? Qin Duhuang and Xiejin Shui were baffled. As they walked out, Legend Abyssal Ocean explained, Brother Qin, do you have a beast king? If so, have your pet compete in the game. You've come at a perfect time. I have one, a beast king. Qin Duhuang was still full of questions. Do you mean the counting match? What is the point of that? Legend Abyssal Ocean laughed, you don't know this. The competitions below the legendary rank are all very boring. They only make the battle pets fight. That can waste a lot of time and energy, not to mention that you can easily destroy a place. It isn't friendly. But a competition without battles is far removed from that. Take the counting match as an example. It is a match to see whose pet can count faster. Isn't that interesting? It has its own meaning. These types of matches are aimed to find which pet has a faster reaction. When we pick battle pets, combat strength is no longer the priority for us legendary battle pet warriors. Power of understanding is. The higher the power of understanding is, the more likely the pet can learn new skills and even talent skills. As such, combat strength can rise. On the other hand, the ones with high combat strength but low power of understanding are just foolish creatures. They don't have much potential. Qin Duhuang did understand the answer but he was still wondering what was so interesting about it. Xiejin Shui was displeased but he said nothing. Suaping didn't even listen to the explanation. He just wanted to find Legend Pluto and get the soul nurturer. Soon, they left Legend Abyssal Ocean's palace. Qin Duhuang flew alongside Legend Abyssal Ocean. Suaping and Xiejin Shui followed them. They flew past many floating palaces, a mountain leaped into their sight soon after. In the air, rivers were flowing around the mountain, also hovering in the air. It was as if gravity didn't exist. Many powerful beings were on that mountain. Qin Duhuang turned pale even before they got close. He noticed the presence of many legendary battle pet warriors, he could also sense people who made him shudder with fear. Are they legendary battle pet warriors as well? They arrived at the peak. The place was bustling with noise. Apart from legendary battle pet warriors, there were some titled servants tending to their needs. Many legendary battle pet warriors were sitting or lying on some lotus pedestals. There were rare fruits on the tables. Some legendary battle pet warriors were embracing pretty ladies. Those ladies who also were at the titled rank leaned in their arms and fed them peeled fruits. In front of them, Two massive beasts were crouching in front of a tablet on which a simple math problem was written. Two beast kings that could threaten a base city were trying to solve the problem. Suiping, Xiejin Shui, and Qin Duhuang were completely stunned. They didn't expect to see so many legendary battle pet warriors there, least of all doing something so boring. This could show their pet's power of understanding? All of a sudden, a flood of rage seized him. As for Suiping and Xiejin Shui, they had been outright ignored since they weren't legendary battle pet warriors. This is Brother Qin. He's here to report for duty. Legend Abyssal Ocean introduced Qin Duhuang to the ones he was most familiar with and had thus officially introduced him to the tower. He pointed at a man and turned to look at Suiping. That is Legend Pluto of the Nordic continent. Be respectful. Legend Pluto is not your average legendary battle pet warrior. I don't think you'd understand. To simplify things for you, he can easily finish average battle pet warriors. Not even 100 people at the peak of the titled rank can hurt him. What? Suddenly, he noticed a different expression on Suiping's face. Qin Duhuang and Xiejin Shui felt the difference as well, because a strand of potent killing intent was oozing out from Suiping. That killing intent had startled the both of them. Since Suiping was not trying to hide it, the legendary battle pet warriors present had certainly felt it, and so did the titled rank servants. Who's the person that is blatantly displaying this much anger? The titled battle pet warriors were surprised to find that the furious person was Suiping, who wasn't at the legendary rank yet. How dare he? The legendary battle pet warriors frowned, certainly displeased. Whose servant is that? How rude! The two beast kings that were still figuring out the math problem were also alerted by the killing intent. As for their masters, they noticed that their battle pets had been disturbed. They eyed Suiping with hostility. It's him. In the crowd, a middle-aged legendary battle pet warrior recognized Suiping. They had met during the Supremacy League. That middle-aged man was Legend North King. He didn't expect to see Suiping there. He wasn't at the legendary rank. What is he doing here? Legend North King had not forgotten about Suiping's performance at the Supremacy League yet. But that was the tower, not some competition venue. Suiping didn't have the chance to apologize and pretended that the killing intent had never been his own. Is this what you've been busy with? Suiping glanced at the crowd, clenching his fists. When Xiejin Shui had gone there to ask for help, he was told that the legendary battle pet warriors were not available. During the Supremacy League, Legend North King had told Suiping that they were in dire need of more hands and that the deep caves were in sore need of more legendary battle pet warriors. He could hardly believe what he was seeing there. There had to be at least a dozen legendary battle pet warriors present. But they were just drinking, merrymaking, and watching their pets doing math problems. This is what they meant by being busy or in need. Legend Abyssal Ocean pulled a long face. I am going to repeat this. Do mind your manners and your own standing. This is not your place to ask questions. Whose servant is this? How impolite, some legendary battle pet warrior grumbled. He also darted a scolding glare at Qin Duhuang, thinking that Suiping was surely his servant. This new guy just got here and he decided to bring such an unruly servant. He needs to be taught a lesson. Qin Duhuang and Xiejin Shui were nervous. They knew all too well how irritated Suiping was, but they weren't able to stop him if he decided to vent his anger. Mr. Su. Xiejin Shui yanked Suiping's sleeve. He understood where Suiping's anger stemmed from. He was also seething. He had previously knelt to the legendary battle pet warriors one by one, but no one had wanted to go with him after they heard the name of the otherworld Heavenly King. If all of them were there, they had to have a way to fight against it. If the Heavenly King couldn't be stopped while working together, it would have completely invaded the blue planet a long time before, and humans wouldn't have been able to build so many base cities, to begin with. Some legendary battle pet warrior cautioned, "Hey you there, control your servant." Qin Duhuang didn't defend himself. In all honesty, he was also displeased with what he was seeing there. They had barely walked out from their sorrows when they stumbled upon this wasteful luxury. Their attitude enraged him. However, he knew that he couldn't show it. Showing his anger would not bring back the deceased. Having lived long enough, he was experienced enough to understand when to endure silently. Even though his youthful passion had been rekindled, it didn't make him foolish. Ha! So Ping's shoulders trembled as he laughed. He laughed louder and louder. Ha! 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 He could not stop his laughter, but it wasn't of the happy kind. The mayor came here to ask for help, but you told him that you were occupied. It wouldn't take you more than half a day to get to the Longjiang base city from here. So Ping continued as he laughed. You told me that legendary battle pet warriors needed to go and guard the deep caves. I thought you were very concerned about humans. But how interesting! So, this is the true tower. This is what the legendary rank means. He couldn't help but burst into another round of laughter. The titled battle pet warriors present were petrified. Is this person nuts? How dare he spout such a wild innuendo? No one could help him, whoever he was serving. He just mocked the legendary battle pet warriors as a whole. Whoever he was serving would be implicated as well, because no one could insult the legendary battle pet warriors. All the people present had long faces. Legend Abyssal Ocean scolded Suaping, I gave you a fair warning but you didn't cherish it. You're not allowed to judge us. Kneel. As he spoke, a turbulence was felt in the air. Legend Abyssal Ocean was unleashing his power. Still, Suaping stood there straight and looked into Legend Abyssal Ocean's eyes. If I cannot say those words, who can? Only people that are more powerful than you? If the powerful people are the only ones allowed to speak their minds, then tell me, what does the world operate on? Rules or fists? What? It surprised Legend Abyssal Ocean that Suaping was unaffected by his influence. He remembered what Qin Dehuang had said about that youth. Do you honestly think a fate challenger can insult legendary battle pet warriors? Legend Abyssal Ocean was agitated. He couldn't allow a titled battle pet warrior to disgrace him. You haven't answered my question yet. Suaping locked his glare on him. Nonsense. You will kneel and you'll be punished with death. Legend Abyssal Ocean shouted. This time, he fully unleashed his ocean state astral powers. He would push Suaping down to the ground. He wasn't at the void state, he was at the peak of the ocean state. Subduing a titled battle pet warrior was like child's play to him. Suaping gave him one final glance and then looked away. The anger also disappeared in his eyes. In its place was darkness and coldness. It turned out that I've been admiring a bunch of vermin, Suaping mumbled. Legend Abyssal Ocean's astral powers poured down over Suaping's head. He was going to force Suaping to his knees to make him apologize to all the legendary battle pet warriors who were there. However, a virtual golden hand appeared in the next second. The glow lit up the entire place and with a bang, a punch landed on Abyssal Ocean's head. Bang! He was immediately beheaded. It happened so fast that the other legendary battle pet warriors had not had the time to process it. The moment that Suaping lifted his hand, those at the void state had foreseen the coming of potential danger, but they were left with not enough time to stop him. The next thing they saw was Legend Abyssal Ocean's headless corpse falling to the ground. Silence. Silence prevailed on Nightfall Mountain. All the legendary and titled battle pet warriors were staring while dazed. They could hardly believe this had truly happened. Legend Abyssal Ocean was beheaded? A legendary battle pet warrior that had lived for several hundred years just died? He was beaten to death right then and there, in the most random fashion. You wouldn't listen when I talked to you as your inferior. Now you are the inferior and I, too, will not give you any chances. Suaping waved his fist. He took his eyes off from the remains of Legend Abyssal Ocean and glared at the other legendary battle pet warriors in front of him.